G-Revolution, the final installment in the plastic gen era, and probably the most underrated Beyblade anime ever. Since it's underrated, I thought it would be a good idea to make a short video on it, as I love this anime, and is easily the best show out of the plastic gen era. Hell, it's one of the best Beyblade shows ever, and I think it deserves to be recognized for how amazing it is. So enough talking. Let's start the video. Alright, so there are plenty of factors that make G-Revolution so good. But I think a good place to start will be the redesigns. Considering the absolute dogshit of redesigns we got last time, we were in desperate need of something fresh. And thank god they delivered, cause the redesigns are sick as hell. The first obvious factor in the redesigns: the growth spurts. Seriously, everyone grew like a foot and a half taller. Then with the individual design changes, I like how they didn't change too much from Tyson's V-Force design, as I personally like this design for him. Then we move on to Max. Him tying his jacket around his waist is an amazing design choice, as it showcases his more feminine nature. Next we move on to Ray. Now his clothing hasn't changed that much, however there's something I've noticed with his physique rather than his clothing. He looks more fit. Like a body that's built off of calisthenics. Sort of. And I think this is the perfect design choice for him, as it represents his high athleticism, speed, sneakiness, keeping attributes from his Chinese culture. Then we finally moved on to Kai, who in my opinion has changed the most. First and foremost, they brought back his scarf. Thank god. I was so pissed when they took this away from him in V-Force, and to see it back brings tears of happiness to my face. Also, he gained a leather jacket, which I love on him. And finally, the most noticeable thing about him is that he got jacked. And this makes perfect sense as it represents how much he destroys himself to surpass Tyson. Alright, enough about the amazing redesigns. On to the cast. Nothing but straight peak. Everyone from the first Beyblade anime returns. That includes Yuri and my personal favorite, Lee. Man, I love him and his Bay. Too bad he got massacred in G-Revolution, but that's for later in the video. Oh, and don't think that the new characters aren't fire either. Rick is a great addition, along with Daichi. Even if we've been introduced to him in the Plastic Gen movie. These guys from Spain are nice too. I love their sibling dynamic. I like majority of the Beyblades. Now, we move on to the plot, which is one of the strongest factors of the show. So the World Beyblade Tournament is coming up, however this time it's a tag team tournament like last time. Meaning that two of our main four aren't gonna be part of the Japanese team. However, this doesn't become an issue at all, as each member joins a different team. Tyson is part of the Japanese team, Kai is part of the Russian team, Ray the Chinese team, and Max the USA team. For the first time ever, the group goes to their separate paths, all to face one person, Tyson. The reason I love this plot so much is because it's something that to this day hasn't really been done before. At least not on a major level. Another reason I love this is because of how hype it gets the viewer. Every time two of the original four face off, it gets you hyped as hell. And the cherry on top is that the battles between two members are always fire. One of them is one of my favorite Beyblade battles of all time. Furthermore, the separation of the original four members creates a character arc never before seen. See, everyone admires or looks up to Tyson because he is the two-time champion, which is the main reason each member goes to a different team to face Tyson. This has detrimental effects on Tyson's mental health, which in turn affects his battle performance. It creates a dynamic where Tyson feels as though he has to live up to the expectations of being a champion. He gets crushed by the pressure of being the world's best. For once, being a champion negatively affects the main character. It's the one and only time we've seen something like this. And I love it. I love how unique and fresh it feels. And it creates a great character arc for Tyson. Now for the battles. These are some of the best Beyblade battles of all time. I can't think of a single bad battle in this whole show. They're long, but not dragged out. I'm always glued to my screen when I watch this show's battles. And part of what makes these battles so good is how close it feels to typical shonen anime. See, in most kids animes like Yu-Gi-Oh!, Bakugan, and of course Beyblade, there's always a different vibe to them than typical anime. Obviously due to it have to be more kid friendly. However, G-Revolution feels like I'm watching a shonen anime like Naruto or Bleach. Some examples are the art style, Ray powering up, the entirety of Tyson and Ray's fight, Kai taking off weighted clothing, etc. It's the creativity each battle brings that makes them feel fresh. Furthermore, the special moves are simple, but still creative. There's something about the way they move and how they function that makes them so entertaining to watch. Like Maximum's special move, he can manipulate his weight in different forms. Like when he covered the stadium in water. Or how about against Tyson where he entraps him in a vertical wave. Or K's special move of using the feathers from Suzaku as projectiles. Literally one of the most creative special moves in Beyblade. You get my point. Another factor is how different the formula for these battles are. For the past 2 shows the battle would go like this. Start the battle. When things get serious, summon the sacred beast. Use a special move. Which is not a bad formula at all. However, in this show the sacred beast feels more natural, as in they feel as though they are part of the bay. Usually they come out when a special move is being used, and I love it. It doesn't drag down the pacing of the battle at all, and still represents the sacred beast. Which leans into another thing about this show I would like to talk about. The sacred beast not being important to the plot. I know this would probably sound like a bad thing, but I actually don't mind it. Mainly because the sacred beast have been the main focus in the last show. So this show being more focused on the sports side of Beyblade is a fresh feeling. Which is something that makes the plastic gen unique. It being able to pull off the mystical side and the realistic side of Beyblade at the same time. Man, the more I look into the plastic gen, the more I realize how underrated it is. On to another factor of the show, the ending and antagonist. I group these two together as I don't want to dive too much into the antagonist, as I have done it before and I want to save some info for a future video. But the antagonist is pretty decent. I'm not gonna say he's one of my favorite antagonists, but I still like him. And I know we are not prone to talented characters, however Brooklyn is probably the most effective, considering how badly he packed up K. I also liked when he got beaten for the first. Brooklyn grew black wings, representing how he's a fallen angel. The final battle and the ending were great, and a great set off to the plastic generation. However, no matter how peak something is, it is not without flaws. One major flaw I had with G Revolution is K joining his grandpa in the beggar team. I find this strange especially after the events of Back It and Shoot. I feel like Kai's obsession with Tyson should have stopped when he beat him in the finals. Remember how I said I would talk about Lee later in this video? Well, that later is now. I fucking hate how they massacred Lee. Seriously, his aura, his strength, everything was just robbed. I understand antagonists aren't gonna have the same aura when they become good. But Lee just wasn't the same this time, in character and in strength. A perfect example is when he gets packed up so easily against Yuri. I'm not saying I wanted it to be on the same level as Kai vs Ray, but this definitely downplayed Lee's strength, making him look weak. Especially when he fell for Yuri's trap. That is unlikely. He is smarter than that. He knows how Yuri's Bay works, especially after all this time. But yeah, those are my 2 major flaws with G Revolution. There's probably more flaws with it, but I don't want to end this video on too much of a sour note. If you want to add on to what I said, or have a different opinion, let me know in the comments. But that is all I have for today. See you in the next video, and have a great day.